Let's jump into problem 768. It's on accounts receivable, and you know and I know the big problem of accounts receivable. People owe us money, and if lots of people owe you money, some of them aren't going to pay. And we learned in intro accounting, the way we deal with that is we allow for that. We set up an allowance predicting the future, predicting that we're not going to be paid by some percentage of our customers. Let's read through the problem and let's deal with this allowance together. Highland Company shows the following information on December 31st, 2031, the company's fiscal year end. They have accounts receivable 130 and an allowance in a debit balance of 500. Not unusual, but we'll discuss how you get a debit balance versus a credit balance in your allowance. By the end of this problem, you'll understand it. But here we're starting in a debit balance, and I do want you to make a note, because some questions you'll start it as debit balance, some questions you'll start at a credit balance, and if you get those confused, you'll screw it all up. So we're starting in a debit. Just remember that. The company's accountant generated the following aging schedule of the accounts receivable. So we have 130 grand in receivables, 80 plus 30 plus 12 plus 8. Yeah, that is $130,000. Our total receivables there is just laid out in order of age. And the idea is when people owe you money, the longer they go without paying, the harder it is to collect. And so you can see with our fresh accounts receivable, 0 to 30 days, 98% of the time we're getting our money, 2% of the time we're going to have to write it off. That's our prediction anyway. And, we predict it based on past track records and, it's never going to be perfect. Like this, we're predicting the future, who's not going to pay us, and we don't know. 80,000 times 2% implies 80,000 times 0.02 that of this 80,000, we're thinking 1,600 will become uncollectible at some point in the future. 30,000 times 5% is 1,500. That's going to become uncollectible. 12 times 15. I didn't learn my times tables that well. I think that's 1,800. 12,000 times 0.15, 1,800. Canada, we learned 12 times 12. That's as high as I had to go. So I know them all really good up to 12 times 12. Once you're into the 13s, 14s, 15s, I'm in trouble. I wonder what other cultures learn. Is everybody the same as us, 12 times 12? Or are you just going up to 10 times 10 or 15 times 15? I have no idea. Type in the comments. What do you have to go up to in your culture when you're learning times tables in elementary school? Over 90 days, 8,000 times 40%. I can do this one in my head. 8 times 4 is 32. So 3,200. Let's not double underline that. Let's add these up. 1,600 plus 1,500 plus 1,800 plus 3,200 is 8,100. And 8,100. That is our total estimated credit loss. That's our estimated uncollectible amount. So our total estimated credit loss is 8,100, and this number that you calculate, we want it to become the ending balance of our allowance for credit losses and I'm just going to shorthand that to allowance. Now, I'm old school. I didn't call it allowance for credit loss. I would call it allowance for doubtful accounts. Follow whatever your professor says in terms of naming or, jargon here. But ending balance of the allowance is 8,100. Okay, well, our starting balance of our allowance was 500. I haven't read the required yet. It says prepare the adjustment to the allowance based on the information above. We're getting there, right? We know that our allowance, when we entered the question, was sitting at a debit of 500, and we know we wanted to end at a credit of 8,100. So how do I go from a debit of 500 to a credit of 8,100? We're always going to be missing a credit. How big is the credit here? Well, the answer is 8,600. Why? Remember, take the big side of a T account minus the small side. 8,600 minus 500 is 8,100, and the big side gets the balance. This is a frequently mixed up concept. Just in my introductory classes, I would expect intermediate students to have this no problem. So if you're like confused here, you got to practice it. You got to know how your T accounts work. So anyway, we need this credit of 8,600 to make this happen, right? We're sitting at a debit of 500. We want to be sitting at a credit of 8,100. We need to credit our allowance by 8,600. Here is the journal entry. We credit allowance 8,600, and we debit the expense related to our credit losses. In introductory accounting, I call this bad debt expense, and that's what I'm going to call it here. However, there's all kinds of names for this in intermediate accounting. You might call it credit loss expense. In IFRS places, they often call it impairment loss expense. In my video, I'm going to call it bad debt expense. But again, be consistent with the naming in your textbook. We're all talking about the same thing and we're all doing the same thing. So the names can be different in different regions, but bad debt expense is the old school way of calling it. And I'm a little bit old school. The date here, December 31st, 2031. So this is our answer to part A. Part B says, show how accounts receivable net is going to be disclosed on the balance sheet. Well, AR minus the allowance equals AR net, and I'll explain the pieces in a moment. AR is $130,000. The allowance, this is most commonly confused step. Students put 8,600 because we've just credited the allowance by 8,600. No, the allowance is 8,100. It's the ending balance of the allowance. AR minus allowance equals AR net. 130 minus 8 is 121,900. So what does this mean? Well, I'm legally owed $130,000. I did the work. I expect to collect $130,000, but I know based on track record, some of these people aren't going to pay. I estimate $8,100 worth of this $130,000 is not coming in. And therefore, my net AR is $121,900. That's how much I actually think I'm going to collect out of the $130,000. That's the number we put beside accounts receivable on the balance sheet. So we show AR net of $121,900. That's the number that we think we can collect, and that's the value of our asset, the net value of our asset on the balance sheet. Okay. On February 10th, 2032, the company writes off a $1,200 receivable from the customer. Record the entry. Writing off is easy now. February 10th, 2032. Whoops. We set up the allowance of $8,100. Now we're using the allowance. So we credit their AR. We're giving up. We want to write them off. So to write off a receivable, you credit the receivable, and then you debit the allowance. You don't debit some expense. You don't debit the bad debt expense. You say, oh, I've set up the allowance, and now I'm using the allowance. And the reason we don't debit the expense is because of the matching principle. I got to record my expenses in the same year as I recorded the revenue. So we record the bad debt expense on December 31st, 2031, the same year we made all of the sales that created these receivables. So at the start of this, I said, well, we have a debit balance of $500 in our allowance for credit losses. Why would that be? And the answer is, look at this here. We've set up an allowance of $8,100. Well, let's say this year I write off, because I don't know who's not going to pay, I write off $9,000 in bad debts. Well, I've written off more than I allowed for. And so I end up with a debit because I'm debiting allowance every time. So if I've written off more than I allowed for in the prior year, I end up with a debit balance in my allowance. If I wrote off less than I allowed for, in other words, I didn't use up all of my allowance, I end up with a credit balance in the allowance for credit losses. So useful to understand how that account works. And I hope this video has helped you in better understanding it. And if it has, hit me with a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye for now. The next video in our series is right up here. And if you want a supercut of all of the videos in this series, that's the one down below.